Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another series review. This series is a crime biography from the United States, English language, released in the year 2022, created by Ian Brennan and Ryan Murphy, and this series is called Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. So the story to Dahmer is basically a retelling of the most infamous serial killer in American history, Jeffrey Dahmer, from his very troubled upbringing to the days where he lured his victims from gay bars, back to his apartment. He drugged them, murdered them, dismembered them, and kept their body parts with him in his house, and up into the days where he was caught, the legal proceedings, and the communities within Milwaukee who felt as though they were let down. So as each story transpires, it gives you a bigger picture of the tragic story, and how it all transpires is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. This is an incredibly sad, uncomfortable and tragic experience, and it's an experience that I was actually surprised with because of the amount of respect that it had. Now coming into it, I had a strong sense of guilt because I thought, all right, well, this is going to glorify a serial killer. This is going to be an entertainment sort of horror experience, because when I saw the rating, it was R18 plus, high impact violence, blood and gore and horror themes, and so that gives you the impression that it's going to be a slasher kind of movie experience. It's going to be something that glorifies the killer as far as a legendary status is concerned, which is unfortunately what a lot of these real-life documentations do. They go that entertainment route, which I definitely think is a slap in the face to the victims' families. But I was surprised to see that it's not so much about Jeffrey Dahmer, it's more so the impact that it had on the victims' families. And the victims themselves are personified in a way where they were very relatable, so it makes the killings even more uncomfortable. And that's something that I wasn't expecting, and that's definitely something that if you're umming and ahhing about, I would say definitely give this a shot. It's incredibly hard to watch, but it needed to be incredibly hard to watch, because you're not going to learn anything if it is an entertainment sort of value. And so this is a story about a set of preventable circumstances. If the police were more competent at their job, this could have been avoided. If he was raised better and had his parents in his life a lot more as a child, maybe this could have been prevented. And so this whole set of tragic circumstances creates that level of depression, and that depression is intensified through the very dreary visuals. I thought this is the hell on earth, especially his apartment, and I thought there was a very pathetic quality towards Jeffrey Dahmer in a way where you're not condoning what he's doing, but there's a sympathetic quality. He was a very lonely individual, and the way that he dismembered these bodies and kept them in his apartment, at one stage it's horrifying, but on the other stage it's pathetic, because he didn't want them to leave him. And so that certain sense of longing that was missing in his childhood, and this is a product of your environment. If you had a lot more attention in his childhood, would these people still be alive? And so it's an age-old question. Are people born evil, or are you a product of your environment? So Jeffrey Dahmer was a very strange person, but he didn't have enough attention. And so without condoning the acts and without saying that this is a good person, it's saying that it was a person that needed help as well as the victims. And so it's a very challenging aspect that this series has, but it's a very thought-provoking aspect. And this is what steers it from that level of entertainment to a real-life biography. And this is what a biography should do, a biopic, that it should give you a set of relatable characters, even the evil Jeffrey Dahmer. And so there are likable qualities to Jeffrey Dahmer where you can understand how he would actually befriend someone. And so you could become friends with this guy, because although he was strange, he did have those likable qualities, and this is how serial killers operate. And so it's giving you a very realistic portrayal of a serial killer. And that realistic portrayal was intensified through the absolutely phenomenal performance from Evan Peters as Jeffrey Dahmer. He got the mannerisms right, and he got that person, as I said, who's very scary, but on the other hand is a likable individual. And so that is challenging. That is very difficult to do, especially when the victims' families are going to have to relive these horrible moments. It's very easy to paint someone as evil and it's black and white. They've got no redeemable qualities, but you're not going to understand the issue, and you're not going to prevent it from happening in the future if you don't personify things. If you don't humanize a demonized individual, you're never going to understand. And so this series allows you to understand without going down, as I said, that exploitation route. So their supporting cast were all fantastic, but I love the fact that the victims had a lot of personality to them. They actually felt like people. They didn't feel like cannon fodder that you get in a slasher film or a series. These are people that you could relate to, and so when they get killed, you feel the sense of loss. And so this is the respect that I was talking about, in that it's giving these victims a voice. It's giving these victims' families a voice. It's not only the victims that suffer, but it's the victims' families. And there's some really, really sad and depressing moments where the families are trying to go through life without their loved ones. And so you feel, okay, it's not a cannon fodder, it's not a cardboard cutout that's been killed, it's actually a real life human. And so nothing about this experience feels entertaining. It's basically a retelling of something that I believe is very important to learn from. Otherwise, yeah, things like this are going to keep happening. So the police, the incompetence of the police, I thought was handled in a way, it was very infuriating. So the whole experience has that level of infuriating quality where you become really, really angry. And that's exactly what this story wanted to do. It wanted to make you feel angry. It wanted to actually relive a moment in history that if it wasn't documented, you wouldn't believe it's true. And so it was just a level of errors that had a domino effect that led to very catastrophic consequences. So the violence is off screen. The majority of the violence is off screen. There's a lot of aftermath, but I thought that was handled very well. It wasn't glorifying the deaths. It wasn't caricaturing the violence in a way that felt like a cartoon. It actually had, as I said, that level of discomfort because it was magnified because the victims actually had an identity. So that was all very good. So it's a 10-part series that I thought had a very fluent sort of continuity, and I thought as though it never really outstayed its welcome. But if I have an issue with this series, did it need to exist is basically the question. Yes, it's very well done. Evan Peters' performance as Jeffrey Dahmer is absolutely second to none, but you go into the series wanting to know about Dahmer as opposed to the victims, and so these victims' families are going to have to relive this horrible event over and over. This is not the first time Jeffrey Dahmer has been told in a story, and so you're constantly feeling that level of guilt. Although it's very respectful, you're still questioning as to why you're watching it and why was this made. And ultimately it wants to be made because it wants to cash in, but cashing in off Jeffrey Dahmer's name, just something doesn't feel right about that. And so I definitely feel as though this could have been left out. It didn't really need to be made, but it was made. And I will say it's one of the more respectful retellings of a horrible event in American history. And so if it sounds like your kind of thing, go in there with a lot of caution because it is very tough to watch. But I believe that the difficulty watching this is what was needed because it felt very respectful and it felt like something that you didn't want to go through again. So if it sounds like kind of thing, go out there and see it. I'm going to give Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, 4 stars. All right, guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.